Today on the Writer's Corner, Dr. Roger Leslie. He's an international award-winning author, publisher. He's also a editor, a writing coach, and Roger will share insights into his diverse writing career, his passion for storytelling, and the inspiration behind his latest bestseller, No Stranger Christmas. We will discuss his multifaceted career, his approach to writing across genres, and his personal experiences that shape his work, the challenges of publishing, and the triumph of self-discovery. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Writer's Corner live show.
Imagine a world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writer's Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works and join us as we celebrate literary greatness only on the Writer's Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writer's Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you're just joining us, then welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. And if you're not yet following us on social media, please do, because that way you'll get notified the next time we go live with the Writer's Corner live show. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking to Dr. Roger Leslie. Our live stream is brought to you compliments of Creative Edge, StreamYard, and BeLive Media. Now, before we have our amazing guest join us on screen, we want to first say, I want to say hello to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She is a 5-time #1 Amazon best-selling author and certified special needs and disability advocate. She is also a speaker, educator, ghostwriter, songwriter, and for the last 6 years, she has brought a unique energy and expertise to our Writer's Corner live show. Mary, how are you today?
Thank you, Brigetti. It has been such an honor for us to be on this journey together. We have had a wonderful time, and we have met so many people from, I was going to say diverse, but just around the world, writing different things and different journeys. And it's been so much fun to be able to share that with our audience and to just grow and grow. And, our authors sometimes connect with each other, which is great for networking and being able to be a part of that. So, and you bring so much to this show. I'm so glad we have come together. And, it's just like we're sitting around the living room having a cup of tea or coffee or whatever your beverage is that you like. I've got water this morning, so.
Absolutely. And I just want to give everyone a heads up. There seems to be something wrong with technology going on today, and my camera has been giving us grief. In our pre-show check, we discovered that something's amiss. We don't know what it is, but whatever happens, I will be here. So if my camera switches off, I'm still here. I will not disappear. So
we will seize the day, right? That's right. We will seize carpe diem. We'll do it, right?
Absolutely. We've got this, the show must go on, whatever happens.
Right. Absolutely.
So welcome to you, our viewers. And if you're listening to the show on a podcast, welcome to you as well. If you've not met our amazing guest yet, Dr. Roger Leslie, he is a national award-winning author, a publisher, editor, and writing coach with a distinguished career in education and writing. With 20 published books, both fiction and nonfiction, Roger writes across genres, including inspirational self-help, spirituality, writing and publishing, historical fiction, teaching, librarianship, biography, memoirs, and movie references. His latest novel, which is the one we're going to talk about in today's show, No Stranger Christmas, is a #1 best-selling book already. So let's invite him to come and join us on the show. Selby, stay with us for Dr. Roger Leslie.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Mary Elizabeth. Hi, Bridget.
Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, it may be a bit of an adventure today, but we'll get through it, right? Because when you're live, you never know what's going to happen. So you just roll with it, right?
I think it's a perfect metaphor too, Bridget, when you were talking about the technology that was happening when I coach my clients through the writing process. And for those listeners and viewers out there who are aspiring writers who are thinking about it, the #1 rule that I recommend is consistency over time gets the job done. No matter what other priorities you might have, no matter what other goals and responsibilities you have, if you're adding writing to your schedule, then regardless of what happens, technology goes out, glitches occur, children get sick, your boss wants you to stay extra hours, whatever it is, find a pattern that works for you and then decide a writing amount, like a word count goal for the week or a time limit goal for the week, and stick with it consistently. You will be shocked at how quickly you get a first draft done if you just stick consistently to that, no matter what seems to stand in the way. Consistency over time will do it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that needs to be hashtag t-shirt. And we are coming out the gate, people, with gold nuggets for anyone out there. And I know I say this in such a Bridgetti, and then we'll get to your questions. We have so much to ask you. It's just that you can't wait for the cottage in the woods or the cabin in the woods, the cottage at the beach or whatever. I mean, I had to learn to write in car writer lines and at practices and rehearsals and all that stuff in 20 minutes here or 30 minutes there, or, and so we really, you just have to be consistent, like you said, and put in the time. So go ahead.
An analogy that I often use is your creative muscles are like your physical muscles. So thinking, one weekend, I'm just going to take the weekend off and go to a cabin in the woods and write my great American novel or my great world book or whatever, is analogous to not working out regularly and thinking, you know what? The Boston Marathon is next weekend. I think I'll just fly to Boston and run the marathon.
I love it. That's perfect.
What you can do is a little bit over time, and gradually you will get stronger. Like physical exercise, when you first go to the gym and you're working out, it's painful. Sometimes you don't feel motivated those first few weeks, but eventually your muscles have muscle memory and they start craving the workout, so much so that if you're working out consistently, your body is ready to get back in the gym. Same thing with your creative muscles. If you write every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I promise you within a few weeks, on Sunday night, you're going to start having dreams that you can use for your book because your subconscious mind is thinking, wow, she needs me to get in there Monday morning and start writing. I better come up with something. And once you open those floodgates, it becomes more natural and easier, and your creative muscles start craving the adventure of writing a book.
I love it. Thank you so much for starting us out with this wisdom. We're really grateful for this. And I'm going to apply that in my life because I've kind of fallen off the wagon just a tiny bit here. But okay, we're going to jump in. Your journey began with a novella at age 13. That is very impressive and exciting, right? How did you starting out so early in your life shape your approach to writing as you grew older? And I think some of it you've given us an answer. Were you using that back then, or that's just come to you over time?
It's come to me over time.
Mhm.
But I discovered a philosophy that I'd like to share with your viewers and listeners today. And that is, whenever we get an inspiration to do something, it feels like the beginning of a journey, but it's really not. We are just joining into the momentum that's already been created. I'm a firm believer that before we ever get the inspiration to do anything, life has already set up for us all the people and circumstances we need to be successful at whatever we feel inspired to do. So here's what happened to me. I was 13 years old and I just got the idea that I was going to be a writer. I just decided I want to be a writer. I didn't know any writers. I didn't have any in my family. I didn't know how writers made a living, but I just thought I want to be an author. Within that next week, my 8th grade English teacher gave us a creative assignment to do whatever we wanted to do. That had never happened in all the years that I'd been in school that I got that opportunity. So I knew, okay, life was giving me a chance, because I didn't, when I had the first idea that I was going to be a writer, I didn't immediately start writing that day. But within a week, I got this assignment that I could do anything. So I thought, perfect opportunity. I'm going to start by writing a story. And I just started, and it built and built and built until it ended up being a novella. I would say it was about 50 pages or so, which for an 8th grader to me felt huge. I thought, wow, I'm onto something here. And it's just grown since.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, as Mary said, I feel like you've already answered our questions, but how has your career as an educator enriched your writing, in particular in terms of character development and storytelling?
Like many authors, I'm pretty introverted. And so I love the time alone. I love the time just sitting at the computer by myself, writing, exploring my characters and so forth. But when I first went into becoming a writer, I was an undergraduate and I was just studying English because I thought, well, I want to be an author. And then I was speaking to a stranger. I was working at a grocery store, and it was one of the customers that I had seen regularly. He wasn't a friend, but he said, "You must be going to school, are you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Really, what are you studying?" And I said, "I'm going to be an author." And as serious as he can be, and he meant no harm at all, but he said, you can't make a living being an author." And I didn't. It didn't occur to me. So I went to my college counselor and said, my career counselor, and I said, is this true? And he said, well, why don't you have a backup plan? And he said, why don't you go into English education so you can teach English until you do well as an author? I did not know until I went into the classroom how much my students would shape my entire journey of life and help me love being around people, being with people, and feel inspired to want to make a positive impact in this world. I owe so much of it to my students directly.
Oh, that is so amazing. And you know what? Kids are so inspiring to us. I mean, at any age, really, even the challenging ages for children, there is inspiration there for us, inspiration for us to look at maybe where we were at their age and, how can we also help them too? But it also is a reminder to us of, wow, we kind of went through that as well, probably on some level. What was the most challenging part of writing No Stranger Christmas, and how did you overcome it? Because some books are super easy to write and others are like, I mean, you might as well just, I don't know, pour concrete and then dig it up again,
So the inspiration came to me. I like new challenges, as you can tell by the many different genre that I've written. So every Christmas, I decorate my house, and I always have a display of classic Christmas books. And I was displaying them one Christmas, and I realized, you know what? I would love to add to the body of works that are available about Christmas, because like most people, I love the magic of the holidays, and I thought I would like to contribute to this. So my inspiration was simply, I want to write a Christmas book. And I just sat down and started, and that's often how my inspirations begin. The biggest challenge I had in writing this particular book was to find the voice of my main character, because I modeled him after someone that I knew but didn't know very well, in that there was a student that I went to school with when I was in school, and I was a rather shy person, and students were not very kind to him. I was not unkind to him, but I didn't know how to muster the courage to stand up for him or with him or to defend him. And over the years, I always regretted that I didn't have more courage. I didn't have more stamina, and I didn't have a strong enough sense of myself as a boy to be okay with stepping in and standing up for somebody who didn't know how to stand up for himself. And so the challenge I had with this book was, how do I get into the head of that particular person I had in mind and create a voice that would be empathetic and strong and would grow as the novel went on, so that my YA readers could move from starting where he began into the point where he comes into his own, discovers who he is, and is able to stand up for himself on his own.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Okay, Brigetti is still with us.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And unfortunately, as we imagined, technology would fail us, but I'm still here. So, Roger, thanks very much for that. Now, let's just switch to your book for a minute. What was the most challenging part for you of writing No Stranger Christmas, and how did you overcome it?
I know you lost connection with us, Brigetta. That was the question that Mary Elizabeth had just asked me, so I did answer that one.
My apologies, but there's more.
Good.
So given your diverse portfolio, how do you maintain creativity and originality across different genres, because you write several?
I love the challenge. If I have not tackled something before, that makes it very exciting. And so when I don't know about something, I'm curious to learn and I want to learn. And so I often get inspired to try something I hadn't tried before, whether it's movie reference because I love movies, or when I was a librarian and a teacher, when I was a teacher, I wrote books for teenagers on goal setting because it was an offshoot of what I was doing in the classroom. And then my librarianship led to the books on library programming for elementary, middle school, and high school libraries. It was a whole series. So the exciting part for me is not knowing where I'm going to go. And I give that same advice to my writing clients. You know, some people like to begin writing with a really thorough outline and have a really clear idea of where they're going. And others like to move right into the creative realm where they just dive right in and start writing. I used to be an outliner. I used to have a meticulous plan for what had to go into a book and how I would develop it. Now, after having been in this profession for 40 some years, I love the idea of just not knowing where I'm going and trusting my subconscious to take me there. And that's an exciting part of the process that many people who aren't writers or don't do creative endeavors might find a little daunting at first. I remember for myself, the first time that happened, I set a goal for myself to write my first novel before I graduated from high school. And so in the afternoon, I would run home from school. My parents bought me a little electric typewriter. I would sit on the floor in my bedroom, cross-legged at this electric typewriter, and I would just write. And I remember one day, I was watching my fingers move across the keyboard, and my conscious mind was not creating the ideas. They were coming from somewhere else. I was only 17 at the time, and I was a little bit intimidated by that. I just thought, is this a sign of madness? Have I lost it? But I realized that is the creative process. The first draft requires getting the conscious mind out of the way, opening those floodgates, and letting the subconscious come forward and through you onto the page. And then in subsequent drafts, when you do your revisions, that's when writers can use their left brain, their concrete, sequential. Okay, now how does all this fit together? How do I make this make sense to a reader? So both sides of your brain get to work. The first draft, it's just the floodgates open. You put it all down there. As I always share with listeners and viewers and my clients, in the first draft, don't get it right, get it written. And then my other rule is, in all subsequent drafts, rewriting is real writing.
Wow. I mean, you are such a wealth of knowledge for us today. Absolutely. I love it. And I talked to a literary agent once who said, write the first 3 paragraphs or first 3 chapters or whatever, and throw it out, start all over again. Just get that initial out of you. And I think that's really important, because we get very attached to our words, don't we? And we get attached to ideas as we're writers, and we want it to be just that way. But maybe it's a little bit better if we do it this way. We may not be able to see the field for the big trees, the forest, I always say, can't see the clarity on what's on the other side. Now, you have got so much happening, and you're doing so much, and you're also running as a publishing company, which is a big undertaking. What motivated you to start your own, and what has been some of the key lessons that you have learned along the way?
My primary motivation for starting my publishing house was to help other writers get published. It was a long journey for me. If I knew when I was 13 that I wouldn't get my first book published until I was 31, I doubt that I would have had the stamina to keep going. But because I didn't know, I just kept trying and improving and studying and learning. So I wanted to make the journey to publication easier for other authors. And that's why my coaching and then my editing then evolved into, okay, there are some of these books that would fit into my mission statement for my publishing house, which is I want to release books that inspire people to live the life they dream and empower them to follow their own unique spiritual path. And so if I'm editing or coaching certain clients and their books fit that mission, then I'll say, well, then submit it for publication consideration, and I will think about having that for publish it in my publishing house. The biggest challenge I had with that is it's a business. I went into education because I really wasn't interested in business. Money is not a top goal for me. I want to prosper like most people. I do want to be comfortable and prosper, but money is not a primary motivator. So I don't know that I naturally had a business sense about things, but running a publishing house required me to learn how to be a good business person and how to create circumstances where my writers can actually profit financially from their works. Just as, in the realm where there are so many different companies that take such a big chunk out of the writer's profits, I wanted to create a scenario where authors could feel a sense of some financial reward, even in their earliest books.
Wow. Thanks very much for sharing that. Now, I've got $1 million question for you. And because people always say, how do you create the perfect work-life balance? Personally, I don't think it exists. But I do want to ask you, how do you balance writing, publishing, and coaching other writers, along with your education? You've got a lot on your plate. How do you create a balance between all those different roles that you carry?
The strongest recommendation I have for your viewers is know what you value and prioritize. My number one priority as a creative person is to write. So before I do any coaching, before I answer emails, before I do any publishing work, I always do what's most important to me. And along that line, I recommend that people have practices, things they do consistently over time. I call mine getting into the pew, P-E-W, because every morning I pray, I exercise, and I write. My workday is not complete until I know I've gotten into the pew. So I need to pray, exercise, and write every workday. Once I do that, then I'm very happy, very satisfied, and then I'm able to segue into my other roles of being a writing coach or editing people's manuscripts or publishing their works.
That is amazing. Absolutely. I love that. Okay. And we need to remember that, because we can get so distracted by, like, I want to do this, but oh my gosh, and we look at all those things maybe over here to the side or to this side, or on the table that need to be done. And I just, I think that's really great advice. I do want to say really quick hi to all of our viewers on Instagram. We're so grateful for you and everywhere that people are watching us today. This is so much great information, because you can apply it to other areas in your life. And we are going to, I think we're going to wrap it up here, because we have we have more questions, but this is where we're going to ask you, what advice would you give? Because you've been giving so much advice, but what about for writers, new ones who are trying to maintain that perseverance, how to face rejection and detours that are in the writing world, because you're going to have them. Even the greatest writers of our time have had challenges.
I love that you used the word detours. One of the most famous stories I tell is about fateful detours. I'll laser the story very briefly, but when I finished my master's degree in creative writing, I was ready to be done with going to college and just spend my evenings and weekends writing and trying to get published. My principal at the time offered me the job as a librarian. That required me to go back to school. I thought, no. But everything happened so naturally. I thought, okay, maybe life knows something that I don't. So I accepted it, thinking I was taking this terrible detour because I didn't want to go back to school. I went back to school. Turns out the two women who ran that program, the library science program where I needed to return to school, one had a connection to Booklist. She got me a job reviewing for Booklist, which is the primary review source in the United States. And the other one invited me to co-author some books with her. And within 6 months of taking that detour, I ended up writing full-time for this magazine, and I ended up having a 3-book contract with one of the biggest publishers in the country. So in answer to your question, I say, if it feels natural, if things are happening naturally, trust that detour. It's going to be a fateful detour that will catapult you directly to the achievement of your goals.
Okay. Amen. Right? Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. You've shared so many gold nuggets with us today. It's amazing. And I want to thank our amazing.
Yes. We want to
Thank you so much.
Yes. We're so grateful. And we'll have to have you back on.
I'd love it. Thank you so much, Brigitte and Mary Elizabeth. Thank you.
It was a great pleasure, and we'd love to welcome you back. And to our amazing audience, thank you very much for joining us today. And we'll see you next week on another episode of the Writer's Corner live show. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Writer's Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writer's Corner live show.
Wow.